Peace and love, family. Welcome to another powerful discussion with your sister, Dr. Maat. You see the title, family. Black people and Thanksgiving. Black people and Thanksgiving. Should Black people be celebrating Thanksgiving? Or what should Black people be doing with this time that we have, right? A lot of us are off from work. Not all of us, but a lot of us are off from work. And so how should we utilize this time? So should we be celebrating Thanksgiving? And how should we be utilizing this time? So I have with me my sister, Tori Key. She's going to be joining me. She has a platform called Health and Hip Hop. She sent me some shirts, family, and I've been rocking her shirts at my kickboxing lessons, my cardio kickboxing lessons with Baba Asar. Shout out to Baba Asar of the Temple of New African Thought. My Baba, is a master teacher in so many things, and I've been doing training with him a few times out of the week. So shout out to my Jegna, my Baba, the master teacher. He does Tai Chi and karate and Qigong and all kinds of stuff, family. So make sure that you hit him up, if you're interested in getting your mind and getting your body right, Ashe. And so anyway, family, you do see the topic, Black people and Thanksgiving. Should we celebrate it? How should we utilize this time that we have off? We're going to jump into the history and also the health aspects of Thanksgiving. So again, I have my sister with me. Shout out to that sister, Tori Key. She'll be joining me shortly, okay, to talk about, we're going to be talking about the history and health of Thanksgiving. But look, guys, I want you right now to take a moment to thumb up the video. I see that you all are coming in. Thumb it up, family. Also, share this discussion. And a matter of fact, I have my cell phone with me right now. I'm going on Facebook, right? And I'm going to share the discussion on Facebook. Hold on. Everything I'm asking you to do, I'm doing it myself. I would never ask you all to do something that I am not willing to do myself. So I'm doing it as we speak, family. So go to your social media platforms, share this discussion. If you're on Facebook, post the link. If you're on Twitter, tweet the link. If you're on Snapchat, TikTok, wherever you are, IG, get the word out that Dr. Maat is live. And I won't be before you long, because I know some of you all are rushing to get to your families by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, right? To eat that turkey and that chicken and that pork and those collard greens with the turkey neck and the macaroni and cheese and biscuits. So some of y'all are rushing. I hope she hurry up. I hope Dr. Maat hurry up. And so I won't be before you long, but I want to uplift Dr. Barashanga, Dr. Ishaka Musa Barashanga. Every holiday, I think of that ancestor. Every holiday, I think of his work. African people and European holidays. I may have butchered it, but he has volume 1 and volume 2. It's a purple book and a yellow book, and he does a beautiful job, family, breaking down the origin of these European holidays that we celebrate. And he also, discusses how harmful it is, to the African psyche. I mean, I had a brother, shout out to this brother. I forgot, I don't know his name. I know he jumped on my IG live today, and he asked a question. He said, do Jewish people celebrate anything related to the Germans? No, they don't. And then so he said, well, why do we as African people celebrate anything related to Europeans? The only response that I have for that is menticide, right? Menticide, miseducation, indoctrination. I would even go as far as saying family traditions, right? It's a tradition in a lot of our families, right? And so I don't even think that people are thinking about like it's European. I think people are thinking it's been in my family. I've always done it, right? And so anyway, family, I want to uplift him, Ishaka Musa Barashango, Baba or Nana or Dr. Ishaka Musa Barashango. So I'm going to play a clip from him talking about Thanksgiving, and he's going to break down Christopher Columbus and what Christopher Columbus did when he got over here, what he did to the indigenous people that he found, how they were treated, and then he's going to talk about the impact or the adverse impact of us teaching our children to celebrate Thanksgiving. And so at this time, I'll just let our great ancestor speak. Ashe, drop an Ashe in the chat. Ashe.
Now, why do I say that? Let me give you a little background on Christopher here. Drop my notes down here somewhere. Hold on a minute. I'll be with you. I'm not gone. Get a little background on him. First of all, his name was Cristobal Colon. He was a Jew. His parents were Jews born in Spain who were baptized Jews, Christianized Jews to survive there in Europe, because the Europeans were running the Jews all over. I mean, they were giving them hell there in Europe. I have to say that. He was a Christianized Jew who was born to a mother and father who was in the weaving business. At the age of 14, he became a sailor and it settled in Genoa, Italy. Now, in his travels to the west coast of Africa and other ships he had sailed on, he learned about several things. One, he learned about the Moors having taught that the earth was round from the globes they taught geography when they were in Spain, and they were still using now at the universities in West Africa. He also purchased a map that was used by the Moorish sea kings, who had mapped out the route going across the Ethiopian Sea, coming here to what was later to be misnomed the Americas. This was very precious. You ever read in those comic books about finding a map that shows you hidden treasure and people hold it and say, God, that's what he did with that. That's why he could run around saying to the other ignorant one, the world is round, give me some money and I'll prove it. Well, how you know that? Well, I can't let you know, just give me some money. You know? He was selling the information, the economic thing. When he came to, I'm not going to go through the whole story there with him, but when he came to Isabella and Ferdinand with his plan, they originally had rejected it. But there was one person who came and saved the day for Columbus. And his name was Luis de Santander, a baptized Jew who was finance minister to Ferdinand. And he said to Isabella, who said, well, now I don't have that much money. Maybe I can, to finance a venture like this, I can pawn my jewels. You know, we heard in school that she pawned her jewels. No, she didn't. He told her, you don't have to do that because I have a cartel of moneylenders. Why did he have a cartel of moneylenders? Because one of the few businesses that Jews were allowed to engage in Europe was pawnbroking, money lending. And therefore they developed a mercantile class which gave them outreach and connections and networking with other nations. So they had that hookup that by the time of the Rothschilds spread everywhere all over Europe. And they had to finance every war that Europe went into. There. Now, he goes to his cartel, which consists of Don Isaac Abrabanel, Juan Cabrero, and Abraham Senor. All Jews. They raised $98,000 to get the 3 ships for Columbus to come over here. On his way over here, he has to stop, go down, because you can't come over here unless you went down the west coast of Africa. And one of the reasons why he went to the west coast of Africa is a brother he had met when he was there before that would be most vital to that mission, that lived in Sierra Leone. His name was Pedro Alonso Nina, one of the most celebrated navigators in the world at that time. Put him upon the ship, either the Pinta or the Nina, I don't remember which one now. Santa Maria, thank you. And they now come over, they're on their way over here, but they don't go further enough to the south, and the wind can't carry them directly to Brazil, so they're delayed for some time, and it's an arduous journey. The journey is so bad that the crew threatens to mutiny. And they tell him, if we don't see some land soon, we're going to throw your butt off the ship and we're going back to Spain. Because Colon said, the king, queen told him, he said, man, I can't go back without something. They don't let me this money because he made them promise to make him admiral of the sea and that he could get 10% of everything he could steal once he got here. It was an economic venture now, I'm telling you. So now he comes, he's not far from land. They're about to commit mutiny. And I understand, I'm told that Pedro Alonso Nina looks off of his ship and he sees floating in the water twig with leaves on it and some blossoms, which is a sure sign that they're not far from land. So he says, hold on, don't mutiny yet. We got to be near land to see something like that. And then a few hours later, they do see land. I'm not proud of it, but the brother saved Christopher Colon's behind right then and there. Now, when he gets here, this is the report he gives to Spain when he returns. He leaves a large portion of his crew here on the island of what was to become known as Haiti. I want you to keep that in mind because we're going to come back to that in a minute. You all right? Yeah. Y'all so quiet out there. I hope I ain't boring. When he gets to bring his report back to Spain, I know I'm hopping around quite a bit, but I'm trying to cover a lot in a few minutes here. As I read from African People and European Holidays, Mental Genocide, Book 1, page 32. This is a report that Christopher Colon made to his sovereigns in Spain. He's describing the people he encountered here. The people he what? That means the people that were what? Already here. As one comedian said, you can't discover nobody who don't want to be discovered. How you going to discover something that's already there? He says this, so tractable, so peaceful are these people that I swear to your majesties, there is not in the world a better nation. Do you hear what he's saying? This white man that was supposed to have to come to these savages and stop them from eating up each other and teach them about God and everything and civilize them, he's saying he has never encountered a better nation than what he encountered of these people here. They love their neighbors as themselves. What did he say? I thought we had to wait until a white man come to teach us that. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's a part of the Christian doctrine. Love your neighbor as yourself. These people already had it. Didn't need anybody to bring it to them. It was already here. And their discourse is ever sweet and gentle and accompanied with a smile. And though it is true that they are naked, now to Europeans, anybody that wasn't covered from head to toe was naked. Because as Francis tell you, they had a problem with their own physical body. African people and people of color like to get that sun, get that Ra into them. Women could walk around bare-breasted because they would not be disrespected. Nobody would disrespect. Couldn't do that today because our mind's been twisted all out of shape. But it was nobody would think to disrespect an African woman in those days. It was unheard of, and it could cost you your life. In some communities today, it can cost you your life. Says, though they are naked, yet their manners are decorous and praiseworthy. Columbus goes on to recommend that these friendly and hospitable people be made to work and sow and do all that is necessary to adopt our ways. Do you dig that? Sheer arrogance. To adopt our ways. The people were all right the way they were. They didn't need anything from him. After which he displayed the 10 Taino Indians he had captured and brought to Spain. Now, on his second voyage back, I've got to read something to you. Is that all right? And so some people won't call me a racist in reverse. I'm going to read from a white man this time, okay? Will Durant in the Story of Civilization, Volume 6. This is what he wrote about it. When Columbus returned on his second voyage, after he had left this colony of Spaniards, there on the island of Haiti. He returns now, and mercy, hold on again, to this island to see what had happened, what had taken place while he was gone making his report to Spain. This is his second journey now. And it says here that 10 months after leaving these people there, that hardly a man remained of the colony, remained of it. The Europeans, this is in Will Durant's language now, had roamed the island, robbing the natives of gold and women. They had established a tropical paradise with 5 women to each man. They had quarreled and murdered one another, and nearly all the rest had been killed by the outraged Indians. Now the brothers had opened up their arms and said, come on in, there's plenty, you know. We'll share. These folk acted so bad, they made the Bloods bad there, and they started killing them, which was their right to do. They said they should have slain them at the bay in the first place. I'm not talking violence, I'm not talking hatred, I'm talking our survival. He goes on to write, he turned back towards Haiti October. He left another colony there now, and he went on to explore some other islands, right? He looked for some other islands to exploit, because up until this time, he hadn't found really anything to take home but those 10 indigeni there, which they called Indians there. And Isabella and Ferdinand said, you better come up with something more than that, because we got to pay this $98,000 back to them Jews. So you better come up with something. That ain't gonna get it. He turned back towards Haiti October the 29th, 1494, wondering how his new settlement had fared. He was shocked to find that it had behaved like its predecessor, that the Spaniards had raped native women, stolen native stores of food, and kidnapped native boys to serve as slaves, and that the natives had killed many Spaniards in revenge. Columbus himself now became a slave dealer. Let me read that again. Listen very carefully to this. Written by Will Durant, Dr. Will Durant, one of the foremost European historians. In The Story of Civilization, Volume 6, page 265. If you don't have it, go to the library and check it out, please. Columbus himself now became a slaveholder. He sent out expeditions to capture 1,500 natives. 400 of these he gave to settlers, 500 he dispatched to Spain, 200 of these died on the voyages. The survivors were sold at Seville, but died in a few years, unable to adjust themselves to the colder climate or perhaps to the savagery of civilization. Brother sit over there, sickleization, syphilization. The third settlement that he left here had survived, but one of every 4 of the 500 Spaniards that he left there in 1496 was suffering from syphilis. And the settlers had divided into 2 hostile groups that were now on the verge of war. These folks just love war. To appease the discontent, Columbus allowed each man to appropriate a large tract of land and to enslave the natives dwelling on it. This became the rule in Spanish settlements. With him on this voyage in 1498, as he crossed the Ethiopian Sea, he passed Africans on their way back home, carrying cargo. And when he got here, he said, what was that I saw? They said, oh, them the brothers from over there. They've been coming, the Sun people. They've been coming here a long time. They brought us some gold. We gave them some things. They took back. They'll be back later. They do that all the time. With him was one of the most infamous creatures that has ever walked on the face of the earth, Bishop Bartholomew Las Casas. He looked at the situation. He said, these people can't stand up under hard labor. They make their living enjoying life. They fish, they hunt, they weave, they make rugs and things. They can't stand up under that hard labor. We're going to have to look somewhere else. So now the Portuguese have Africans, and they can do the work of 10 of these indigos, as they call them. So then he went to the Pope of Rome, the vicar of the Son of God on earth, who once wrote in their catechism, Pope Leo X said, the Lord our God no longer reigns. He has given all power to me. I'm not picking on anybody's religion. That's in their history. Who had the keys to the kingdom, walk in the shoes of the fishermen, and got permission to capture and enslave African people and bring them to the Spanish colonies, which opened the whole door to the slave trade, became the basis of America's economy, which we'll be talking about later on there. My brothers and sisters, I present to you the question, is it logical? Is it sane for us or our children to celebrate the arrival of a slaver, a person who dealt in the slave trade, a person who opened the door for the genocide and destruction, not only of the red nations here, but the black nations that were here as well? And then on the heels of that, to capture our ancestors and to bring them here and to subject them to the worst cruelty that has ever been known in the history of the entire world. There is nothing to match this. This is the greatest of all Holocausts. Would they tell me somewhere between 150 to 200,000 million lost in the Middle Passage alone, not to mention the suffering wreaked and the destruction on all of the civilizations which were existing there on the continent, and the pain and deprivation after we were brought here. So is there that one move by Columbus opened the door to the Western Hemisphere for that kind of activity? So what is there to celebrate in that? I hope you don't get angry with me for sharing that with you. I'm going to leave that alone now.
Let's give it up. Let's give it up for our great ancestor, Nana Ishakamusa Barashango.
Fire! 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 Fire!
He said so much in 15 minutes. He said so much. He asked you at the end, is it logical? And I know a lot of you are going to say, Dr. Maat, you know, I'm not celebrating genocide, colonization, and slavery today. It's my family time. You know, it's my fast time. It's my workout day. It's my day of relaxation. And I'm all for it. Let's be clear. I'm all for it. Let's be clear. Let it be known. I'm all for it. But we cannot dismiss the fact that this time today was set aside to commemorate genocide, colonization, and slavery. That's all I'm saying. Black folks can say, well, I'm celebrating it for this reason, or I'm doing this on this day and I'm doing that. And it is your prerogative to do. I'm thinking about Bobby Brown. It's my prerogative. It's your prerogative to do what you want to do with your time. It's your time. But what I am saying is, let's not forget why this time was set aside in the first daggone place. That's what I'm saying to you, family. Put an Asha in the chat if you understand what I'm saying to you. That's what I'm saying. Let's not act like this time wasn't set aside to commemorate this. Let's not act like this holy day or sacred day is not a day that was created by European people. So I agree with that brother on Instagram today when he posed the questions. Well, do you see the Jews celebrating anything related to the Germans? Well, why is it that we as Black people celebrate things related to European people? So shout out and peace be upon the soul of Dr. Ishakamusa Barashango. And make sure, family, that if you want to read up on African people and European holidays, get his book, Volume 1 and Volume 2. All right. Volume 1, African People and European Holidays, a Mental Genocide. Book 1. All right. And the purple book is book 2. I read these books every year, like clockwork. Every year I read these books so that the information stays here. Cause we get older, we forget things and things are placed. You can't recall them like you used to. So I make sure that I read this work every year. And also around the, Christmas time, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, even Valentine's Day and things like that. I make sure that I watch one of his clips or one of his lectures, just to keep that information at my center. And so anyway, family, I mean, you can do what you want to do and it's your prerogative. Spend your time how you want to spend it. But let's not act like this time wasn't set aside to celebrate or to commemorate genocide, colonization, and slavery. All right. And so peace be upon the soul of Baba Ishaka Musa Barashango. And every time I see clips of him on speaking in New York, even speaking in Baltimore. Shout out to Brother Jabari Nator. He brought him to Baltimore as well a few times, several times to speak. I get so, I don't want to say envious, but that's the word that's coming to my mind. It's like, oh my goodness, like I wish that I had the opportunity to experience him in the flesh. Even, when I look at clips of Dr. Ben and Dr. John Henry Clark, and I hear the elders tell me stories about how, at Sojourner Douglas, I remember when Dr. Francis Cress Welsing came and taught, or Dr. Ben came and taught a class, or my mother, shout out to the brother Akil Parker. When he came on my platform, he talked about how his mother and father were taught. They took classes, with classes taught by Dr. John Henry Clark. And so every time I hear those stories, I'm like, damn it, like I wish that I would have had the opportunity to experience, those dynamic educators, African educators, and scholars, and activists. I really do, man. And shout out and peace be upon the soul of Transatlantic Productions. The Baba that owned Transatlantic Productions, that he became an ancestor, I believe, a few months ago. And I forgot his name. Somebody help me out in the chat. Dr. Craig Samuels, I see you in the chat, Baba. Help me out with that. It was the Baba, or he was the elder, but he was a Baba. And he was the one that recorded a lot of these lectures that we see with Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Dr. Ishaka Musa Barashango. He was one of those folks. He was like, they said he recorded thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of these now ancestors. And he just recently made his transition a few months ago. So shout out to that Baba from Transatlantic Productions, who made it possible for people like myself to hear and see, not in the flesh, but to hear and see, Baba, Dr. John Henry Clark, or I want to say Nana John Henry Clark, Nana Dr. Ben, Nana Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Nana Ishaka Musa Barashango. So I give thanks for that, brother. Thank you so much, Coach. There it is. Thank you so much, Baba Clemson Brown. Peace be upon his soul. Can we throw an ashe in the chat for him? Peace be upon his soul. Because what he did, and I don't think I think that at the time, and this is just me speculating, I don't know, he was recording all of this stuff. I think at the time he was trying to definitely capture, their words and capture their lectures, so people could study them and review them and, but I don't think that Baba understood that him recording, our ancestors, I don't think he understood how he immortalized them. People in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years will be looking at Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's lectures on whatever platform. He literally immortalized them for us, right? You understand? And so I give thanks right now. Dua, I give thanks, Asante Sana, for Baba Clemson Brown. And I feel bad because me and Baba was in touch with one another. He was supposed to come on this platform and I was supposed to interview him about, his whole journey. Like, why did he establish Transatlantic Productions and what was it like attending these lectures and captions? But he captured a lot of footage. I'm thinking about Dr. Amos Wilson right now. A lot of these lectures you see online from Dr. Amos Wilson, that's stuff from Baba Clemson Brown. And so I give thanks for that ancestor, right, for doing that, because he gave us an opportunity to experience them, even though we didn't see them live in the flesh, but we experienced them through him capturing these lectures. So salute to Baba Clemson Brown. So now that we know the history. I'm getting ready to bring in my sister Tori Key. Now that we know the history, family, I'm gonna bring her in, and I want you all to help me unpack this question in the chat. Should we as Black people be celebrating Thanksgiving, and how should we utilize this time that we have off? Peace and black power to you, Sister Tori Key. How are you, Queen?
Peace, peace, peace. I'm well. I'm well. How are you?
Doing all right. I can't complain. I appreciate your patience. I had to at the beginning play Baba Nana Ishaka Musa Barashango. I play him every holiday so he can educate us on the origins of the holidays that many of us still choose to celebrate. But I want you to weigh on this, Sister Tori Key. What are your thoughts about Black people and Thanksgiving? Do you think that we should celebrate it? And how do you think we should utilize the time that we have off?
That's a great question. For me, in my opinion, I think when it comes to the word celebration, a lot of that, especially with the holidays, is from just all the stress load that we actually have, which is what I want to talk about with the health. But when it comes to us as Black people, I have to talk about the stress load because of us never having the access to turn off our safety mode, right? And so the reason why I'm saying this is because when it comes to Thanksgiving, right, a lot of the times people are really just celebrating on our end, honestly, a break. And so when it comes down to the break aspect of it, I do think that we should take as much time as we can, depending on the level that we are mentally, as Black people here in this country, to take the time to definitely at least to rest and recover and get and have access to our family on that end of it, because a lot of times we need breaks, and we're scared to take them, we're afraid to not have, and things of that nature, because of really the emotional balance that we feel within ourselves, or a lack that we feel within ourselves. Not everyone, but a lot of us are scared to take breaks. We're scared to chase our actual purpose, our dreams, our goals. And these days do allow us rest. So on that aspect of us taking a mental break and us getting close to our families, I do think that we should absolutely celebrate in that part of it. But when it comes to the actual meaning of the European reasoning of Thanksgiving, absolutely not. So that's my take on it. For me, yes, it is just a moment that I take every day. I live my choice of how I want to live, and every minute is my decision and what I want to do. So this day to me is nothing like any other. So yes, when it comes to us and some of us needing that mental break, I think we should. But some of us are, way beyond that. So obviously, no, I don't.
Okay.
So that's my answer. Hopefully that makes sense. I just like to have balance when I speak. So yes, that's my thoughts on it.
Okay, and so you're saying, and so when my remember it's like a twofold question. So you kind
Yes.
of answered it all in one. And so you're saying that
Okay.
take this time to rest. So you're saying that we should utilize this time by just resting. Is that your thoughts?
Yeah, resting, or to me, I think that because when there's a quote unquote holiday, right? There's a different atmosphere. There's a different emotion. Like I feel a little bit differently emotional today, not for any reasons for the holiday. I just think that because we all have a rest, the energy just feels kind of, well, most of us, not everybody, but the energy just feels a little different. So I think it should be rest, or we should use this time to work on something internally that you need to pay focus to, maybe to sit down and write and take your time of things or habits that you need to change, or working on an idea that you may have, doing a live, something that's productive with the day. So that rest, or using that time to do something that you might have never taken the chance of doing because you don't get that time off to yourself.
Right. Well, let me ask you a question, because
Yes.
earlier you said while you were, giving your thoughts, and I appreciate you sharing your thoughts, and your
Hmm.
opinions on this and weighing in on this. You said that this is the only time that we get, most of us work, and so this is the only time we get to kind of take off. Isn't that problematic though? It feels like
It's
slavery. Like
absolutely,
like
it's absolutely
like black
problematic.
like black people, we can't just say collectively, this is the day that we're going to take off, and this is the day that we're all going to utilize this time to do whatever. Like, isn't that problematic in and of itself to say, well, it's the only
Absolutely.
time they give us off, so I'm gonna take this time to do that. You know what I mean? Like, are we in the 1800s, or that's what I was thinking.
Absolutely.
So what's your thoughts about that?
No, absolutely. And speaking of the holiday, to be honest, there's so many ways that we need breaks. It's a mental break, and then there's a break that we also need spiritually, and there's a break that we need physically. But we're really not taking any breaks, honestly, on the physical matter, because a lot of us are actually about to put our bodies in overload, which is actually going to do you more harm because of the fact of everything that most of us are about to indulge in as far as dairy products and white starches and white sugars. So we're not even really getting to physically take a break. You're actually going to be more drained. And which is why depression and everything, kind of a lot of those type of situations occur during the wintertime, during these times too. So that's it's not even a break if you ever think about it.
Yeah, and
But,
this is a great segue into my next
hmm,
question, because I wanted to
absolutely.
think about the health issues. So we sit around at the table and we're carving, so a lot of us are eating the fried turkey, or some people are baking it and or frying it, so we're eating that, and then we're eating big plates of macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes and
Absolutely.
gravy, greens
Absolutely.
with turkey neck
Absolutely.
in it, and fat back in it, and and sweet
Absolutely.
potato pie. So we're eating, I'm like, do people really even understand the health, issues associated with, going over? Because people, I'm going to go get my plate. Yeah, you're going to go get a
Hmm.
plate of high cholesterol, a plate of high blood pressure, a slice of
Absolutely.
diabetes, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
like,
And honestly, a plate of drugs because of the sugars and the additives and the coloring. Um, some of those chemicals are in those sugars are just a few molecules away from cocaine. So, I mean, it's
facts. So,
hmm,
let's talk about that. Let's get into that. I know that's your lane. When it comes to
absolutely.
health, you're very health conscious. You're a very conscious woman, period. But very health. I know health is like your lane. So let's get into that. How does eating those types of foods impact our minds and impact our bodies?
Well, I'm just going to keep it real simple. But for the most part, I'm gonna just explain two ways, right? And the reason why I want to keep it simple is because I just want you to understand exactly what I mean without it being anything that has to be large, huge words to make it sound like I know what I'm talking about or anything like that. But for one main thing, I just want y'all to think about, and I have another point as well. But one main thing that I want you to think about is when it comes to certain foods, right? When we eat more of a cleaner diet, right? As far as like more raw foods, more foods that are easy to digest, right? When you leave out an apple, right? An apple just rots, right? You don't really smell it, right? It doesn't give off a scent or anything of that. It just look bad, and then you have to throw it out, right? When it comes to just some of the foods that we eat, right? That some of us are about to partake in today with the dairy products, right? And dairy products, you're not even supposed to actually leave out of the refrigerator, right? And some of these foods, if you leave overnight, you're not eating it. And what people don't understand is that when you eat something, just because you don't see it anymore, right? This becomes the trash can, right? So when it's no different than us leaving foods that would spoil overnight out. And like I said, with apples and vegetables and things like that, you're not smelling them when you leave them out or any of that nature. So when it comes to to just the sugars and the over consumption of the meats, right? In 2 or 3 days, those foods are still sitting in your system. But
Come on,
it's not different
see,
from you leaving that food out or you putting that food in the trash, right? You have to take that trash out and then it goes and then we don't see it anymore, right? And it decomposes and all these and bacteria and all these things start to appear in that garbage that we don't see anymore. But we don't understand that that same situation is happening internally. And some of us are not moving, some of us are not fasting, some of us are overindulging, some of us are going to have this tomorrow, the next day. Some of us are going to wake up and have pancakes and huge breakfasts on top of that. And so we just have to understand that our body is meant to reduce excuse me, I said waste and relieve waste. But some of us are not even giving our bodies a chance to do that
yeah,
at all.
absolutely.
At all.
While you were talking, sister, I was thinking about a stat that came out some years ago that said that by the time we reach, I think 40 or 50, the average adult has 5 pounds worth of undigested meat sitting in your intestines. And so
Absolutely.
when you think about that, you're like, damn, no wonder, cancer is running rapid, right? Like I'm just
Absolutely.
about that whole thing.
Absolutely.
You got all of these toxic, these 5 pounds worth of
Absolutely.
undigested meat is sitting in your
Absolutely.
daggone intestines by the time you're 40.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go
Absolutely.
ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. And that's why I said common sense, right? Common sense, right? If it just the overconsumption of meat, right? Technically, right, we should be growing our own food. We should be hunting our own food, right? That's what the history of our bodies understand. And for us, we should be growing, right? Because we would live, or we would be considered somewhere closer, way to the equator line, right? So majority of our food would come from the ground, right? And so the fact that like we're getting to go to the store and just pick up all these different meats, you, even if you lived in an area where it was cold, you still would not catch as much meat, or even if you did, you would be trying to definitely trying to preserve it in certain ways and not over consuming it to the point where you could have chicken for breakfast, chicken for lunch, or beef for dinner, dinner times too. Like you would not have the access to that much meat, even if you were hunting, or even if you had a farm, you would still be very, you would be very organized in how you want to distribute that meat if you're going to. So majority of what you would be eating would come from the ground because you have way more control over that access. So over that. So just the simple fact of the reason of us not being able to digest that food just comes from just the ability that our livers and can't process that. Our kidneys, we're not meant to be able to consume that much meat, and we're meant to, at least if you're going to consume it, you're going to, at least fast, just to make sure everything kind of clears out and detoxifies itself in the proper way. So that's another reason too. Just common sense would tell you, like, it would be really hard to be able to catch, or to be able to kill deer, or any type of wild animal, and you would not have access to, even fishing is not is not what's the best word I could say, when it comes to fishing. Like that's more so of a thing of you catch what you can. Sometimes it's a good day, sometimes it's not. And so just us having the access to whenever I want to have meat, whether it's coming from a place where they're not taking well care of the animals, or whether it's coming from fast food where some of these animals need antibiotics. So we're mixing them with, foods that have animals that have hormones and antibiotics and all these different things. And then on top of that, the ground flesh, it's not just one chicken or one cow you're eating. You're consuming a bunch of different ones. And so it's just so foreign to the body, which is why it's hard for us to digest it in the first place, because that's not what our organs are not meant to digest that as quick as it is and as often as it is. And that's just common sense. Like I said, when it comes to growing food and catching food, how our ancestors were doing, they weren't catching 15 different or 20 different. And if so, you still had to have it in a place where you could actually keep it,
Yeah, store
long
it.
enough. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, store it.
And as well as just, everything that they use. And then if so, and even so, it still would be in a more of a wild, area, not in a place where these animals are like bunched up, kind of like how they had slaves, literally just like that, and underfed, undertreated. They just it's so graphic, but yes.
No,
So
absolutely.
absolutely.
Absolutely. And I wanted to go back to, I wanted to share something and something in the chat. Ty 313, you said that's not true. Sir, do your research, or ma'am, I don't know who you are. I don't know if you're sir or ma'am, but do your research, Ty 313. Eating certain foods are linked to depression. They have linked the eating certain foods to depression. That you can, that's a fact. That's a
I
fact.
mean, honestly, on top of that, I've been helping women since I was 21. I am about to be 14 years in, and every single woman, I say every single, from the age I've been 21 to the women and the men that have told me that they felt depressed or have been diagnosed with depression, their diets are very similar. On top of the research, and on top of the real work that I do, that I've been doing since 21, and I've seen women and I've seen men eat a certain way and have a completely different outlook on life and a different attitude. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've seen the changes. So and it's tons of studies out there. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Well, that's what we said, Ty 313. That's the point that she made. And as soon as she said that foods are linked to the depression, you hopped in a chat and said that's not true. And it is absolutely true. They have linked diets to depression. But that's what you wrote. That's what you wrote when she said that's not true. That's what you wrote. So I'm not going to argue with you, Todd 313, but that's what you said. And so anyway, I do want to say this. You do feel a
Mhm.
difference in your body when you're eating healthier foods. You see,
Absolutely.
you feel different. You think
Hmm.
different.
You
Your
think different? Absolutely.
energy level is different. Even you see it in your bowel movements because my body will tell me when I've eaten something
Absolutely.
that I wasn't supposed to eat because I'll be constipated. Like, oh my goodness, why am I constipated? Oh, you ate too much. It may have been starch the previous day, or it may have been whatever, but I can link it back to my diet,
Absolutely.
even with the menstrual cycles, right? And just being candid. Even with
Absolutely.
the menstrual cycles,
Absolutely.
you'll say, well, dang, why was I a little heavier this go around? Oh, I consumed a lot of sugar, or I consumed a lot
Absolutely.
of this, and that's why I'm heavier. But when you're like working out and you're eating right,
Absolutely.
your
Absolutely.
cramps aren't very intense. You know what I mean? So you
Absolutely.
feel it in your body. Go ahead, sis.
Absolutely. And as well, just on the menstrual cycle topic, also under eating, under eating too is a major situation that a lot of us go through because of the fact that we skip. And when I say under eating, I mean improperly under eating, meaning when you are eating, what you are consuming is foods that are malnutrition and what they call empty calories. So that also affects your menstrual cycle. And then also not understanding your cycle in itself as far as how much we have as women to actually go and get it, because I'm sure many of us could contest to this, but that the week before your menstrual cycle comes tells you everything, especially if you go through that week where you're craving a ton or you're feeling really tired. Those are the times that week before, that those 7 to 10 days before, those are the times where we should be kind of recuperating, getting ready to release, relaxing, and not doing too much, and making sure that we're getting in that vitamin D, we're getting in the calcium, the magnesium, all your vitamin B, C's, A's, D's, K's, right, your chlorophyll and all those different iron, right, and things of that nature. And so if ladies, if or fellas too, if y'all see your sisters or your aunts or your wives that week before, where you see that we're dogging food out, and women, ladies, when you're like, oh
Oh,
my
I
god, I need
know.
chocolate and I need, yes.
I know.
That tells you everything. That tells you everything. If you are hawking for food, it is because your mind and body's trying to send you all these different signals to know. It knows where it can get certain vitamins and minerals from certain foods. However, if you are consuming pretty much kind of a diet where you're not operating from the cleanest position of when you're eating, then it will send you signals of Snickers and chocolates and all these things,
Yes.
because you don't know exactly where to get that magnesium and calcium that's missing and all those and things out of your diet.
Tori, I got to keep it a buck. I'm guilty. I'm
Hmm.
guilty. Sometimes I'm like, give me the Snicker bar, give me
Absolutely.
the Kit Kat, and
Absolutely.
then give me the slice of cake. Sometimes I can't lie. I'm like, because my craving is like it's all over the place. So it's like I may want something, I may want something
Hmm.
sweet, then I may want something salty, then I want something
Absolutely.
smart. And so my body is like, and then like you said, I'm overeating. I remember making a comment one time to one of my friends. I was like, oh my goodness, my menstrual must be getting ready to come on. I said, because my stomach feels like the bottomless pit because I'm just
Hmm.
eating and nothing filled me up. It was just like I was just constantly eating, constantly eating, constantly
Absolutely.
eating. So definitely that. But
No,
I want
absolutely. That, and I have to be honest too. That just happened to I know because it just happened to me. Like there's a shout out to I'll show y'all the herbs. There's a black owned company. Well, if you want me to, it's up to you. But there's a black owned company that I use. Oh my God, the herbs that they have are phenomenal for men and women. It's called Black Root Tonic. I love it. And I did not take it this. I did not take it the last 4 weeks. I take it all the time, but just the last 4 weeks, I just did not. I just did not feel like getting that bitter taste. I'm just being honest with y'all. This is just a real thing. I just did not feel like going through that bitter taste, And I last week it was mayhem for me. I was eating everything, and I'm like, you see, I know exactly what that's from. But because I know what that's from. A lot of us would think that it's undisciplined. Like, oh my God, I'm not disciplined and I'm not eating. I'm not doing what I said I was going to do. And sometimes it's just a lack of knowledge. So I saw it. I'm like, look at me looking for ice cream and looking for all these things. I didn't go and get it, but I'm just like, look at the cravings, right? And I'm like, dang, imagine how many women would think that I'm being undisciplined. And it's not, it has nothing to do with that. If we are disciplined, it's just where that energy is going. So I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to say that because I feel like people could relate by me giving y'all exactly what I mean. I go through it too.
Exactly. And then I want to go into the meat, because you talked about Thanksgiving and the whole, you mentioned meat, eating chicken. I
Yeah.
remember, and peace be upon her soul, Miss, I think it was Edna. I think her name was Miss Edna. And she was a woman that, an elder that put me on. This was in 2007. She put, well, the end of, I met her in the 2006, and she did colon cleanses. So she was, I don't know what you call that, what the professional name for it is, colon, I don't know.
Colonic.
Colonic, yeah. So she would do colonics. Thank you. She did colonics, and she used to do it in her home over in West Baltimore, right behind Sinai Hospital. So peace be upon her soul. I think it was either Miss Emma or Miss Edna, but anyway, she's now an ancestor. But I went to her a few times, and that's when I stopped eating meat. And she said, "Oh, you're constipated." I laid on that table, and she put that tube there, and you're constipated. And she said, what's in your diet? And at that particular time, I was weighing about 205 pounds when I went to her, and I was so depressed. I was 205, and I'd never been that heavy. That was the heaviest I've ever been in my entire life. I was 25. I'm telling my age. I was 25. 2006. I was 25. And so that was like the heaviest I ever was in my life. And I went to her, and I'm crying. And it's Miss Ethel, not Edna, not Emma. Ethel, Miss Ethel Hurt. That was her name. It just came to me. I think she just said, "That's not my name, girl." She just told me.
Miss Ethel got the direct connect.
She just told me. I was like, remember I said Emma, Ethna. I just
got the direct connect to the ancestor.
Like, say my name, Ethel Hurt. Say my name. And I'm saying your name, Ethel Hurt. That was her name. Peace be upon the soul of Miss Ethel Hurt. And so Miss Ethel Hurt, she sat me down and she said, "Girlie, what are you eating? Because you're very constipated." And at that time, I thought because I didn't eat beef or pork that I had a good diet. What are you eating for breakfast? And I said, "Oh, I eat egg whites fried hard with cheese,
with oil
and toast and turkey bacon." And she looked at me and she said, "Well, what do you eat for lunch?" "Oh, I go to Wendy's and I eat a spicy chicken with cheese, large fries and a soda." And then she said, "Well, what are you eating for dinner?" Sometimes I go right back to Wendy's and get the same thing." And so in my brain, I thought because I didn't eat beef or pork that I had a healthy diet, right? Because my diet consisted of chicken, fish, and turkey. But I kept gaining and gaining and gaining and gaining. And she said, "Oh, sweetie," she said, "this is what I want you to do." She said, for breakfast, instead of eating fried eggs and turkey bacon and toast with butter, she said, try eating oatmeal and fruit, try that. And I said, okay. And so I was eating oatmeal and fruit, but then again, lunchtime came, dinner came, I was doing everything. So then I'll go back to her again. And she said, "Well, how's that coming along?" And I didn't know what she was doing, Tori Key, at the time, but she was slowly but surely changing my diet. So then I went back to her. And she said, "How have you been coming along with your breakfast?" And I said, "Well, yeah, sometimes I eat oatmeal. Sometimes I eat fruit. Sometimes I just go get a smoothie. Sometimes I juice it." She said, "Good." She said, "Now let's work on lunch." She said, "What do you eat for lunch?" And I said, "Well, I'm doing, Wendy's." She said, No. She said, "Try eating a salad maybe, for lunch. Eat a salad or, some vegetables or something like that, or soup and salad." And I said, "Well, can I do a salmon Caesar salad?" She said, "Well, I really don't want you to eat meat at all, but if you feel like you have to, the salmon is fine." And I said, okay. So I was eating salmon and, salmon Caesar salads. And then for dinner, I was eating vegetables. So before you know it, from December 2006, all the way to April of 2007, I lost 20 pounds. Just changing my diet.
And just from diet change?
Just from diet. And then
from real food.
Then I started jogging, and then I went from 180 by September all the way down to 125, 130 pounds. I was very, very slim
Wow.
around that time,
Wow.
just from eating right and working out. And so I saw the power of what diet and exercise could do at that juncture, during that time period of my life. And then she gave me a documentary called Eating. Family, if you haven't seen this documentary, make sure you get it. It's called Eating. And I don't know if it's on Amazon Prime or Netflix, but it was a documentary called Eating. And in that documentary, they talk about how chickens and turkeys are raised. They showed how a lot of the chickens and turkeys, first of all, they're raised closely together. A
Hmm.
lot of them have deformities.
Absolutely.
A lot of them have
Like
diseases.
slavery, like how they had the slaves
Yeah.
coming in the ships.
A lot of them have deformities, diseases, and then they
Absolutely.
show how chickens and turkeys eat their own feces. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
sickening how they
And
raise.
that changes your DNA.
Yeah, and then look, they
How you
talked
eat
about
become what you
that
eat becomes your
you
DNA. So,
become what you eat, and they talked about how
hmm.
places like McDonald's, like these fast food chains, buy the sickest animals on the farm because they're the cheapest. So I said, damn, no wonder they can sell you 2 chicken sandwiches for $2, 2 for $2, or 2 for $3. No wonder they can
Absolutely.
sell it to you and still make a
Absolutely.
profit because you're getting poor quality meat. And so, anyway, sis,
Yeah,
I know I kind of rambled on that about
absolutely.
that, but let's really get into that
No,
meat.
no, no.
Let's really get into that meat. And I'm asking you a question. I know the answer to it, but I want you to
Hmm.
unpack it. They've linked meat with cancer. Is that not? Is that not
Hmm.
true? They've linked
Absolutely.
meat with cancer.
Absolutely.
Mm. I believe they said that
Absolutely.
that chicken carries what is it, arsenic in it. I'm not pretty sure. I think it's arsenic or something like that in chicken. I know it's a cancer causing agent that they say that is in the chickens that we consume. And so, is that true or is that not true, Tori? I'm just let
Well,
you
as
fact.
far as the cancer
Yeah.
situation,
Yes.
um, yeah, because of the fact of one, really, really just a lack of nutrients and a lack of knowledge. And so with the overconsumption of the chicken, we're pretty much really not getting the key vitamins and minerals that we need daily from chicken. It's not enough. And so one, you have to get it from plants and herbs because what even when it comes to different herbs and fruits and things like that, just food from the soil from where the sun is blazing on these crops so that we can survive. And so a lot with the chickens, one, it's a hybrid animal. And so it's not an original animal. So if you are going to consume meat, you want to at least consume flesh that is the closest to nature. And so that's why salmon, that's original, that's always been here. Sea bass, bison, chicken, cow, those animals they're not original animals. So
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so yes, that is absolutely true. And then it's really just the overconsumption though of it. And then as well as like you said, a lot of these animals are raised horribly, and the way that they market products is really the same way as they market rap to us, the same way as they market us being hooked on certain fashions and things of that nature that we don't need to be hooked on. The marketing that you see on or the labels that you see on the foods that you're eating is marketing. You need to turn directly to the back and to forget all the colors and the low fat this and the high protein that. You need to turn directly. Don't even care about the glitz and glamours. And this says turn directly to the back of what you're eating. And one, most of your food should not need a label on it, right? Meaning most of your food should be original and from the ground and not need a label. And so if you're picking up things that have a label, I don't want to like jump ship too far in the cancer situation, but majority of the foods that you are eating are not being able to be read by your body. It's literally a computer. And so if you're feeding
Mm.
it foods that your body cannot read, then it's automatically going to either restore you or it's going to harm you. And so chicken is because it's not an original animal and you're over consuming it. That's why also just in common sense, you're an original, you're human, you're indigenous, you're human. You want to feed foods that your body can read. Your body cannot read chicken. If we need to use that for a survival tactic or a survival reason, I get it. But that means we're going to be off of it to come out of it, not to over consume it from us as toddlers
Yeah, absolutely.
forcing
And
chicken nuggets
yeah, and
down
chicken.
our
Yeah,
kids, children's throats.
And chicken and turkey are high in cholesterol. They're high in
Absolutely.
cholesterol. I remember,
Absolutely.
and I
Mostly because they're probably stressed. Most of them are high in cholesterol because they're stressed. The way that those
I didn't
animals
really
are
supposed to
raised,
be.
they're stressed. They're highly stressed.
Yeah, but yeah,
Literally.
consuming them. Now I was telling one of my friends, and he's probably watching.
Absolutely.
I said, man, you need to leave that chicken and that turkey alone because he was eating it morning, noon, and night, morning, noon, and night. And he ended up getting high cholesterol, and he had a stroke last December, and he just
Or
turned
at least once.
he just turned 46 years old, and he just had a stroke last December. And I know that it was linked to his diet. You know what I mean? And so
Absolutely.
we
Absolutely.
got to be careful when we're sitting around the table consuming all of that stuff. The macaroni and cheese and the meat and the
Absolutely. And
beans and
what you
all of
do
that
to
stuff.
it too.
Yeah, like
What
you
you
said,
do to the
what you
food
do
too.
to it.
What you do to the food. Yes. If you're going to consume, I just want to I have to always give because I feel like it's so important to not just say what not to do and what to do because I like to meet people where they're at, right?
Right.
If you're going to consume, chicken and turkey, right, at least consume it once or twice out of per day or one or and work your way up to 2 to 3 times per week for flesh. Because for the most part, you want foods that can digest quick. The fastest food that digests quick is going to be fruit. Second to fruit is going to be your vegetables. Those digest a little slower. They take about 2 to 4 hours. And then anything from meats, it's going to take you about four. And then depending on the starches, are going to take you anywhere from 4 to 6, depending on the type of starch that you are consuming. And so when it boils down to if you are somebody that's like, I can't get rid of the meat, I can't get rid of the meat, I can't get rid of the meat, a lot of that is because there's no willpower left due to our lives being so stressed. So reduce some of that stress so you can have some willpower to say no. And then as well as you wait for your life to get a little bit less stressful, 1 to 2 times out of the day, and then change to maybe once to 3 times per week and get more fruits and vegetables in your system or foods that are easy to digest, real foods that they call them whole food ingredients, meaning it's how can I put it, it's the food is one ingredient, or how I should say it's itself. So oats is oats, quinoa is quinoa, kale is kale, spinach is, I'm just naming vegetables and things like that. An apple is an apple, but when you have Fruit Loops, so if you have Chips Ahoy, these are 16, 17, sometimes 19 to 30 ingredients just for once they add the coloring and the preservatives and all of those foods. So if you're looking for the quickest way to just become healthier, whole foods as often as possible. Foods that are itself. That's the easiest way I can explain it. You can identify it's one ingredient, even if it's oats with some walnuts and berries and things that are single item foods. But you want to increase your diet to whole foods as often as possible. Why? Because you're whole. You're wholesome. You need foods that your body can digest. It understands strawberries. It understands blueberries. It knows what to do and how to break down mangoes and even from salmon and things of that nature. It's
Mm-mm.
just you can still get vitamin D from salmon. You still can get certain oils and fats from salmon as well. So the best way to consume and become healthier is at least 5 to 6 days per week of whole foods, and maybe once or twice something that is not on the list that is quote unquote unhealthy, just for your sanity, until you gain that control to eliminate it all the way, or learn the replacements for the foods that are not so healthy. It takes time to learn what replacements are used to switch out dairy and white sugars and stuff like that.
Dr. Craig Samuels, he loves you. He said, damn, you're right. And then he said, great points. And shout out to Ben Frank. Ben Frank he says, real talk.
Oh
He's he
wait, I saw Dr. Craig. Sorry, he's asked about B12.
uh,
You can get B12 from nutritional yeast, and also if you eat meat, bison is a great source as well.
mm. Someone
Bison a few times out of the week, because like I said, that's an original animal, so you can still get oxygen, from that animal. So if you are, bison is great, and also nutritional yeast is good, a great source for vitamin B12 as
DL
well.
asked about
I know you asked that.
DL asked about frozen vegetables. What are your thoughts about frozen vegetables?
I mean, frozen. So, all right. So we have to talk about vegetables, right? Which is also why, like, I want to go down the lane of biochemistry. The deeper I go into nutrition, the deeper I want to change and go back to school for biochemistry. But when it comes to vegetables, I just want to make 2 points about vegetables. When it comes to frozen vegetables, that is totally fine. If you can freeze your own vegetables, that's going to be absolutely the best. But just make sure that when you get your frozen vegetables, especially 'cause sometimes at like the dollar stores and things like that, they will have preservatives and things added. So just make sure that if you are going to consume frozen vegetables, that when you turn to the back, it says just the vegetable and no added sodium and coloring and things of that nature. That's number one. And number two, what I wanted to say, because a lot of people consume raw kale and a lot of people consume raw spinach. And I wanted to say that when it comes to certain vegetables, it is very important that some vegetables are cooked, especially kale and spinach. And why I brought up the topic of biochemistry is because that plant in itself has what you call enzyme inhibitors, meaning the kale's protection so that nothing eats it, no rodents or animals or even humans eats it so it stays alive, is that it does not get digested. And so one of the best ways to break down kale and spinach is to add water to break down so that it can be digested, or the enzyme inhibitors kind of dilute. So definitely make sure that when it comes to spinach and kale, you don't need to add these plants into your fruits. You don't even need to mix fruits and vegetables together. You can just have a smoothie with fruit. If you're gonna do any type of kale or any type of spinach, it just needs to be cooked. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying please cook, please cook, because it can damage your thyroid. So please cook. Your kale and spinach. You don't have to consume them raw.
All right, and brother Malik Long, and this is his, we'll take this last question because I know you got to
Yeah.
jet out. It says, what about? He says, what about fish oil and vitamins? Fish oil vitamins. What about?
So it's more so meeting people where they are. Because I don't with the health situation and with learning nutrition, it's such a broad field and so much places where you could get information at. And because this is just this one conversation, like we're not continuing it tomorrow and the next day. When it comes to fish oils, if you're lacking and you don't have the knowledge, meaning, so if you're trying to get omega 3s and omega 6s, you can absolutely use hemp seeds. You can use chia seeds. Those need to be soaked too. Please soak your hemp seeds and soak your seeds. Soak your nuts and seeds. The same reason with the kale and spinach. Same reason with nuts and seeds. Please soak your nuts and seeds. Okay. Um, but yes, when it comes to to the fish oils, if you're not knowledgeable of where to get your omega 3s, your omega 6s, and your omega 9s, and take the time out to learn where to get them from, then yes, absolutely supplement with vitamins until you learn that information. But I gave you a few, like chia seeds and hemp seeds as well. Brazil nuts too, olive oil as well, and avocados should be staples in your diet too. So when it comes to oils and fats, you can get them from those sources. And yes, you can absolutely have fish oil pills if you need to.
All right, and to my fellas, I want my fellas who are listening, make sure, fellas, that you get tiger nuts. I was
Oh yes,
yeah,
yes,
when I went
absolutely,
over to Ghana in 2019, the men over there, I mean, you got men who, they're in their 70s still having babies. And and they don't have erectile dysfunction issues over there in Ghana, but over here in America, it's ed is very high, and it's linked to the diet, the water, it's linked to all that stress,
absolutely,
right? The stress, the diet, the
absolutely.
water.
Stress is
And so
everything.
yeah, so is becoming very common. And it used to be an older gentleman's thing, but now you have women who are in their 20s, making comments, and brothers are saying they're having some issues in their 20s, with ed. So it's becoming very common. But tiger nuts is will help you maintain a healthy testosterone level. And so anyway, they say that's very good. And so when I asked the men over there, well, what are you all doing? Because like I said, you got these guys late 60s, 70s, still having children, no problems.
Absolutely,
And I said, what are you all eating over here? I know they're eating the fresh fish, right? They're eating the fresh fish
absolutely,
and the
hmm,
coconut falling from the tree and all of that. But I asked them,
absolutely,
are there anything else that you guys are taking? And the brothers told me tiger nuts. And
absolutely.
I went online and I saw they sell it in nuts. So you can get it in the form of nuts, and you can also get it in a powder form. I would think that the nuts would be better, but I do know that you can get it in a powder form or get it in nuts and throw
Absolutely.
it in your shake. So your shake. So to my fellas in the chat, make sure, fellas, that you grab yourself some tiger nuts or tiger nut powder to help you maintain, a healthy testosterone level. I also want to say this in closing. I really, really want to advocate and shout out to Black farmers, right? Shout out to those brothers and sisters who are getting land and cultivating the land. We really need to get back into the business of growing our own foods, right? We
Absolutely.
gotta get back into that. And we lost that. We used to do that down south, and I come from the south. My
Absolutely.
mother's family had. I'm thinking about my uncle Lucky right now, who at one point we would go down South Carolina. He was growing his own green peas, his own collard greens. He was raising his own animals. He grew his own fruits. And then when he got older, the younger generation didn't see the value in what he was doing, and so he had to let all of that stuff go. But when I got older, I realized Uncle Lucky was a rich man. He could feed his family. He go out back and feed
Absolutely.
his family with the food that he was growing. And so a lot of us, we're so concerned about what they're putting in the food and we we should be growing our own goddamn food anyway. So now we don't
Absolutely.
have to worry about who's putting what in our foods because we're the ones growing our own foods.
Absolutely.
And Fannie Lee Hamer said, "A nation who can't feed itself can't free itself." So if we want to get free,
Absolutely.
we got to be in the business of
Absolutely.
growing our own food. Also, we got to make sure we monitor what our children are eating. I know sometimes it's convenient to take them to Checkers and Burger King. I got to be
Absolutely.
honest. I do it from time to time.
Mhm.
I'm like, what do you want to eat? And I'm in the car like this. All right, let's stop at Checkers. What do you want? You want the
Absolutely.
fish sandwich with the fries and the Sprite? Okay, it's convenient and we do it, but we have to do a better job with monitoring the foods that our children eat, even if we send them to the public food system, that food that they're giving them, that processed food that they're feeding
Absolutely.
them. And so we got to make
Absolutely.
sure we do better with not only our diets, but the diets of our children. All right. And so,
Absolutely.
sister, do you have any closing words for the listening audience?
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback on all three of those things really quick, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, Queen.
So with the testosterone for the fellas, right? Absolutely. The tiger nuts, fats are so I don't want to call them underrated because they're not if you are studying, nutrition, but it is one of the main micronutrients that we don't eat on purpose. Like, we everybody's aiming for protein, everybody's aiming for, watching my carbs, watching my starches, but your fats control your hormones and they control your blood sugars. So getting Brazil nuts and eating fats, healthy fats on purpose, like looking for them daily. Avocados would be ideal, especially most of us have such high starch content. Avocados would be one of the best foods you can keep in your system. On top of the testosterone, proper fasting, fellas, and also exercise, especially leg days. Getting that blood pumping to the legs helps build testosterone. So leg days, getting those fats in as well. Sleep, not stressing, and proper fasting. Fasting is one of the best ways too for men to develop, higher and better testosterone. So that was just one thing I wanted to piggyback on that. And when it comes down to the diet with the children, right? A lot of us are eating based off of the time that we have. And so when women call me, when men call me, I listen to all of the issues that's going on, but I'm really looking at the schedule. Like once we get past the issues, I spend way more time on what's going on with your schedule and what's going to cause mishaps and what's going to cause those time consuming decisions of when when it just basically boils down to us making sure to have that time to create real food because we get so addicted to that fast paced life that it's such convenience to get to that quick food, and it's quick to get and insert, but it is not quick to digest at all. It is very harsh, and a lot of the food is quote unquote malnutrition and does nothing for your system. And so we're getting a bunch of empty calories, meaning our cells are still starving. So that really just boils down to just making time. I don't care what anybody's week is, make it a business meeting. with yourself, with your body, with your family's body, with your family's lifeline and the investment is a longer lifeline so we can get and have an abundance of whatever else and goals and dreams that we need to chase. But that set time that you don't cancel or switch for anyone. Like if you made every meeting for the next 3 months and it's going to pay you $1 million, you're going to make that. But this can bring you way much more. That same energy, that same joy that we're trying to reach, we can get it organically just from our food. And then we can spread out where you allow things to come to the goals that you have versus you trying to put your health into the goals. Like that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to fit health into the goals. We're trying to fit the manual of what the human body needs, which is rest, sleep, real food, exercise, meditation, praying, forgiveness, stress relief, taking accountability. We cannot fit those into time. Like we fit time into that. That's where our time and our energy needs to go to. And then we know how to exert it and how much we have to give. So make that time, y'all, to get at least 20 minutes of exercise. Make that time twice, 2 to 3 times a week for you to get real food. 80%. That's it. 80%. Sometimes during the month, take a couple of months out of the year to do 100%, raw and things like that, just to get you some cleansing in from the 20s. That's your 20% you might need to keep your sanity. And so that's all I wanted to say, man. It doesn't need to be much, 20 minutes. And if you need to reach out to others, like when you don't have time, you need to talk. Like talk to your partners, talk to your family members, who could do what, who could cut up, who could prep. But we have to make time to make real food. It is vital. Please, 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 please. It hurts my heart when people are calling me and they don't have time, because we have time. That's all God give us is time, and it's what we do with it. And we're trying to create richness and wealth, and that's internally. And richness and wealth and having that time frame and making that small investment in a year or two, it is going to be very annoying. But what's 2 years that's going to put an extra 10 to 5 to 15 more years to go in and get it anyway, versus us only going to get it to our 60s, our 70s, our 50s, or we're getting it in our 80s or 90s and our 70s, and we're struggling and we're not really feeling our best selves. We should still be way more functional. At 40, we should still feel 20, 30. At 50, we should still feel 30, 40. At 60, we should still feel the age of 30 to 40 to 50. Like we should be 10 years in that element of youthness than us being 50 and we feel 70, us being 60. That is not how we're designed at all. And we're not even and blessed that our genes allow us to still look great and still survive and kill it. But imagine how much more and easier to be if we actually just operate off of the way that the manual is for the body, which is rest, eating properly, sunlight, no stress, and getting exercise, 15 to 20 minutes. We need to do it in flexibility. It's a must. So if you're watching this, you owe it to yourself. Once you know you owe, it's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You heard this information. It's speaking to you. You have to use it, period, point blank. All right. And that was all I wanted to say.
Fire! Fire! Fire!
Dr. Craig Samuel said, I am inspired. People in the chat are loving you, Sister Tori Key.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all too. Please.
They're saying thank you for the information. They're like, look, Dr. Craig Samuel said, Doc, make sure she provides her contact information and or social media handle. So please give that to the listener audience.
Yes. So actually, you know what? If y'all please go right while we're on here, right? Me and Dr. Maat have an episode on my health and hip hop show. We have an episode. Yeah, we do. So y'all need to check that out. Number one. And yes, y'all can reach me just the easiest way to I would say I got 3 Instagram pages. I'm just gonna try to give y'all the most easiest one. So the easiest one is Health and Hip Hop Show. Health and Hip Hop Show. Y'all can catch me. Y'all can follow me on there. That's where all of my episodes come out, and you'll get I have my personal page. So just make sure y'all send me a DM, a message, and anyone that messages me right now, I will work with y'all for the month of December to give y'all a plan for the new year for absolutely free for the first 10 people who messages me just for checking out the show. I will give y'all a plan to just organize your lifestyle in the proper way to open yourself up to better health for January. So yeah, why not? I've been giving away a whole bunch to my clients. Let's do it. I love y'all. So message me, Health and Hip Hop Show. First 10 people I will give to free consultation call and plan.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. They said they love it. They said thank you. They said
Absolutely.
make
Please
sure.
take advantage, because I'm telling you, I don't boast and brag, but I'm it when it comes to Black health, and when it comes to getting our stress and our lives in order. I've been doing this since I've been 21, and I am now 34. That's all I've been doing. So take advantage, please.
Love it. And look, I'm showing the people our interview on the
Yes.
screen. Family, make
Yes.
sure that you check it out. It's a dynamic interview. I just clicked the link. Just clicked the link. I just threw just put the link in the chat. So make sure that you check out that interview with her. It was the dynamic family. And make sure that you
Absolutely.
subscribe to her
Yep.
platform. And you know I rock your tees at the I see your little
Yes. I'm gonna
pictures.
post it.
I see your
I'm
pictures.
gonna post
Look,
it.
I'm in the gym with Baba Asar, and I make sure that I rock. You gave me a gray one, and you gave me a yellow one, so I make sure
Yes.
that I rock your
Yes.
your health and hip hop t-shirts when I'm doing my cardio kickboxing. And so, Queen, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule
Yes.
to be with us
Absolutely.
tonight. And so, thank you so much. And make sure that family you subscribe to her channel. Make sure, family,
Yes.
that you look at her interview. She's a powerful sister. If you didn't watch the whole thing when she was on, come back to this interview and rewind and watch the whole thing from the beginning if there was anything you missed. Do you have any closing words, Sister Tori Key?
Nope, just make sure y'all follow me on the Health and Hip Hop Show on Instagram. Just Health and Hip Hop Show. It should come up. And make sure y'all message me and follow y'all. I love y'all.
We
Please
love
take
you
care of
too.
yourselves.
We love you too, Queen.
Peace.
Peace. So you heard from a man, dynamic sister, young sister, in her 30s. And I don't know if you all know this, but I surround myself with young people. And when I say young people, my crew is between 12 and like 35. They're younger than me. And I'm just cultivating them and supporting them and pouring into them. So I like to, surround myself with young folks. I remember, I believe it was Brother Nuri Muhammad who said a useless movement is a useless movement. Ashe. And so we want to make sure that we always we pour into our young people, and we support them, and we provide them with safe spaces to express their thoughts and their ideas, and to promote themselves and whatever they got going on. So I'm a huge advocate of that. And so if you notice, I surround myself with the young crew. So you'll see a lot of my students. You see me with the youth in my family. You see me networking with the youth in the community, right? Because ultimately they are the future. And so if I want to shape and mold our future as a people, then I had to contribute to the development of the people who are going to be there. Ashe. So you see that Dr. Maat, she keeps young folks around her, and I'm going to continue to do so. And so anyway, family, at this time, before we get out of here, I want to acknowledge CMOTEP. Shout out to CMOTEP, the Committee to Eliminate Media Offensive to African People. They just celebrated their 36th anniversary, actually in March. Their 36 years of existence and resistance in March. And I had the honor of speaking at their 36th annual luncheon this past Saturday. And I was supposed to speak alongside Dr. Anthony T. Browder, but he couldn't make it, but he did send in a video presentation that we had the opportunity to watch. But it would have come full circle for me, because those of you who know my story, you know that I always give him credit and honor for being the ancestor, and not ancestor in death, but ancestor in this work, who actually woke me up. He was the one that started my journey to re-Africanize myself at the age of 15. It was his work that sparked that journey. And so I always pay homage to Baba Anthony T. Browder. So anyway, it would have come full circle for me to now be on a platform, with him, and speaking alongside him. And I also had the honor of going to Kemet with him in December of 2021 to look at the ancient sacred landscapes or structures of Kemet. So I went over there with him and spent about 2 weeks over there with him. But anyway, it was a marvelous time. I appreciate Miss Betty Dobson and Dr. James McIntosh, who are the co-founders of CMOTEP, for inviting me there. It was an honor to meet them. It was an honor to be in the presence of just powerful people. A lot of different organizations were there. Shout out to the UNIA chapter in New York. They were there. So many different organizations. I don't want to name them because I know I'm going to miss some, but a lot of organizations came out. It was a packed venue. We had a really, really good time. Just celebrating being African people and being great, right? And that's what we celebrated. And we talked about the importance of controlling our image and information and the dangers of allowing someone else to control our image and our information. And so I do want to salute CMOTEP at this time and thank them from the bottom of my heart for inviting me to speak. And then after that, I spoke to Dr. James McIntosh the next day. He said, Dr. Maat, don't be surprised if some more people are going to invite you, to come out and speak. And I said, I'm there. I'm all for it. And so I give thanks for being invited, to speak in different places. So anyway, family, I do thank you all for tuning in. You could have been anywhere else, right? It's Thanksgiving. And so you could have been anywhere else. You could have been on the telephone. You could have been watching movies. You could have been asleep. You could have been at the gym. You could have been with your family, right? Or you could have been on another YouTube platform or doing whatever. But you stayed here, family, and you listened. You clicked the link. You came in. You listened. You commented. You shared. And I appreciate that. And I am grateful for that. Thank you so much, family. Make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so that whenever I go live, you will be notified. Take this discussion, the link, throw it in your family group chats, throw it in your chats on social media. Also, family, make sure you hit the notification bell so that whenever I go live, you're notified. And tune in the next time, family. All right. Have a black-tastic week because I won't be live. I'm actually going to bury one of my cousins who transitioned last Saturday. So I will not be live tomorrow or even from tomorrow, Saturday or Sunday. I'll probably be live again on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure that you look out for the notification on Tuesday or Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a black-tastic week. Peace and black power. Uhuru Sasa. Freedom now. A BB Fahodier, African liberation. A BB Toomey, black power.